I don't usually come to these, as you guys know, but Jodi is out of town, and so I am covering for today. So we are going to be masterminding together, and I want to talk about some things that are important to you. Oh, Krista, I see that you are driving through Colorado. That's fun. I love that you're still here with us. All right, it's 1 o'clock on the dot, so hopefully more people jump in and join us. So let's talk about what are you guys wanting to talk about? Does anybody have any burning ideas or burning topics that you're wanting to talk through today for Mastermind?
I don't have a burning topic, but I'm having trouble putting a client on a drip campaign. And I looked at your YouTube channel and I couldn't find a video, and I looked at through Marty's and I couldn't find the video either.
So we don't have anything that is for any MLS, because every MLS is different. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to just want to go to YouTube and search your MLS and putting people on a subscription or a saved search.
Subscription or saved search. Okay, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I will say, one thing just to kick us off, because, hi, Maria. Maria, I have a prize for you for winning daily Kickstart stuff.
Oh,
it's right here. So next time you're in the office, I have this for you. I haven't seen you in so long, so I don't know when that's going to be, but I have it.
Thank you.
Okay, so while we are on the topic, though, of saved subscriptions and that kind of thing, one of the things that we've been talking about the last few days with everybody is really talking about scalability. And a lot of people, when they're getting started, we've been talking with people mostly who are in foundation group coaching, which for those of you who have gone through this with us, you understand that foundation group coaching is really in that first 90 days or so that you're laying that foundation. And so these are people who are just getting started. So this is where most of the conversation has come from. But basically, this conversation is saying they don't necessarily have a system of putting people on smart plans, putting people on a neighborhood nurture, putting people on a safe search, because they have it in their heads because they don't have as many clients. The problem with that is that it's not scalable. And so we have to make sure that we have a system that is scalable, because when you have 5 clients, sure, you can remember what they want. I cannot. I don't know about you, but I cannot. If I have 5 clients, I'm like, what was that one? What were their names again? I forget. I'm terrible at this. So I cannot do that. And so for me, once I have even like 5, 10 clients, I'm like, I forget who they were. I don't remember what they wanted, what they were looking for. And so many people are saying, I'm more comfortable writing stuff down. I'm not good at using technology or any of that stuff. And to them, I would say, you better get comfortable with technology of some kind. My recommendation is always Command. It is built by agents for agents. And so it is built for you to be able to do your business. So make sure that when you're not busy, which is usually now, and I would say for all of us, we are the least busy now than we will ever be, because we're just ramping up. We're just getting our business started. Even if you are busy right now, you're just hopefully going to continue getting busier. And so you want to make sure that you are putting these systems in place now so that you can grow and scale, so that you don't have to try and figure out systems and put them in place when you are really, really busy. So I just kind of like piggybacked off of what your comment was about doing a saved search in the MLS, but that is one way to scale. So one of the things that I do, just for those of you who don't normally have me as a coach, you can hear little tidbits of what I do normally. So one of the things that I do is, for most of my clients, I will put them on a saved search that goes directly to them. I don't want it coming to me, because I have a lot of people on these. If I had it also coming to me, I would have thousands of emails a day. I don't want that. I want it going directly to them. And then I usually do have mine checked to say that I want it to I want to see when they click on something. So then I know if they've clicked on something, and then that tells me, okay, they're looking, they're interested, I can follow up with them. But if I haven't seen an email come through that they've clicked on something in months and months and months, when the quarterly call plan comes around and I say, I haven't seen anything come through from them, I know that I can pick up the phone and say, hey, are we still looking? What's going on? I haven't seen anything come through. What's happening? And they can tell me, no, I've kind of paused the search. And then I update my command and say, here are the notes. This is what we've talked about. Whatever it is that you do, however you do it, you have to have a system in place. So for those of you who just joined us, if you can, please turn your cameras on. I don't care if you look like a hot mess. I love when people look like a hot mess. Turn your cameras on if you can. I know Krista's driving through Colorado, so don't worry about turning your camera on. All right, tell me what you guys use for systems. What do you guys use for systems? How do you use it? How do you like it? Where do you feel like you can improve on your systems?
I'm trying to get my systems done. We did a great, I've watched your smart plan video a few times. I have a question about that as well. So once I download the smart plan, I register it to my contact list, or I register the contacts first before I name my smart plan. That way it goes to them. I haven't executed yet because I have this question. I have downloaded someone else's smart plan that was a guest on our Keller Williams meeting, and I liked it. All her verbiage. Do I need to go in and change contact so-and-so? I have to edit every one of her touches with my contact information, correct? I have to go in and edit them all.
Yeah, so for smart plans, when you go in and download somebody else's smart plan, if it has any kind of their information on it, you have to change it to your information, because it's going to say exactly what it says there. The only difference is if it has like the formula where it says agent name or agent last name or something like that, where it automatically pulls it, then it'll put in your name. But like there isn't a formula that pulls agent DRE number, for instance, or agent brokerage name. I don't think that there's a formula that pulls it. So that's the time when you do have to go in and put that, and you do have to change that, but you do it once and it changes it for all your smart plans. So using the smart plans is super, super helpful. And I tell people all the time, don't reinvent the wheel, find somebody else that has done it. And I've created some smart plans for you guys. So go in and look up PCA, and there are going to be some open house smart plans, some Facebook ad smart plans and stuff like that. You can edit them however you want. You can remove tasks, you can remove things. Now, one of the things that you want to know is that some people are really opposed to like any kind of a bulk email, bulk text, anything like that. And I hear you. Like, I totally understand what people are saying. But the beauty of smart plans too is that you can use them just as a reminder for yourself. If you just set a task, create a task to remind you to follow up, to remind you to make a phone call, to remind you to send a text, to remind you that it's their birthday, their home anniversary, something like that. You can use these smart plans for so many things that are not just sending a bulk email. And a lot of people, I think, write off smart plans because they think it's that. It's not that. It's helping you to be able to scale even your own personal self. So you can make these phone calls and add these personal touches. It's just putting you on a calendar, basically. But yes, back to your comment, you do have to edit all of these to have your contact info in them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So what other systems do you guys use? What's working? What's not working?
I don't know yet because I haven't pulled the trigger. I'm too nervous to actually. I told my mom and sister, I'm going to do this. I'm going to edit it all and send it to you guys first so that make sure I do it right. And then, but then I realized you have to go and set everyone's, you have to put everybody's, every contact with the smart plan that you want. So it's figuring out that too.
You can bulk add them. I have Ask a Coach right after this, so we can talk about that if you have questions on that, but you can bulk add them. It makes it super easy.
Well, I'll go. Well, yesterday I was at the meeting with you, Brittany, and I said I finally overcame my fear of talking on the phone. The one thing is, which is more like a question, but also something that I've been doing is, I think there was another person in the class before. I think he's in my office. Ernie Jackson said, "When should we leave a voicemail if we do cold calls?" And I've seen some videos around there, and I've talked to other agents. It can count as like free marketing, because as a person who has been on the receiving end of voicemails, sometimes you get voicemails that sound like a robot. But if you get a voicemail which is me actually doing it, and you hear like my text and everything, it doesn't sound, it sounds like a genuine person. And one thing that that has happened is that people actually follow up with me, and they give me a text message, say, "Oh no, I'm not interested, thank you, I'm going for sellers." So I ask them if they want a free market analysis, which is the CMA. So people do get back to me, and at least I'm known in my local area as a new agent, that's trying to drum up business. So following up, whether it's on the phone or with a handwritten note, that's the hardest thing, because it's most like, it seems like busy work, but it's something we have to do.
Oh yeah, follow up is key to your business. And one thing I would push back with you is, I heard one word that I did not like in everything you just said.
Yeah.
What is that one word?
Oh, I don't know, but I think once I hear it, I might agree.
Oh, you're gonna agree. What word is
Okay.
it? You might not agree, actually. You might not agree.
Okay.
What word?
Okay. Okay, let's see.
Anybody else hear a word that?
Cold calling?
No, that was fine.
Okay. Geez, let's see. I'm anxious to know.
Krista says free. Nope, free is good. The word he said was, "I'm a new agent."
Oh, yeah.
Get that word out of your vocabulary for every single one of you. You do not need to tell the world that
Yes.
you're a new agent. Who cares? You are a real estate agent from this day forward. I don't care if you've had your license for 1 day, 1 minute, 1 year, 10 years. You are a real estate agent. Even if you are not a full-time agent, even if you have a full-time job doing something else, you are a real estate agent. So make sure that you are not going out there telling people you're a new agent. You can say you're new to the area. That's okay. But don't tell people you're a new agent.
I was script practicing with another agent, and something he said that I really like and I'm implementing now is, he says, when they ask him, because he's barely like 2 months into the business, and they asked him like, "Well, how long you been doing real estate?" And all his responses, "For quite some time now," and that's that's all his response. And then he'll, like, as soon as he says that, like, he'll giggle like, "Yeah, quite some time now," and then he'll go right to his next question. So they'll like completely ignore that question or that answer, and they'll just continue. So if anybody wants to
The
see
reality is that they usually don't really care. They just feel like they need to ask that question. What they more so care about is your confidence and can you get the job done. And so that's the thing, that if we're telling people that we're a new agent, we're already putting ourselves in this position of feeling like I'm like, we have that imposter syndrome. We're feeling like I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough. I'm new. There are people who could do it better than me. No, get that out of our heads. If we're starting off with that, we need to be saying, I'm the best person for this job. I'm going to do the best job for you. I'm going to be the best there is. I am the best out there. That's the mentality and the mindset we need to come in here with. Not, I'm new. And you were not coming off like that, Manuel. You were coming off as, I'm a new agent. I'm hungry. I'm in this. I'm doing it. You had a really good mindset. But I also think that just having, if you eliminate that word new, I think your mindset will shift even more, and you'll be able to get so much more of that business because you're not putting that on yourself if I'm a new agent. But Carlos, we had this conversation not that long ago, and you've been in the business for how long?
A year, a little over a year.
And you told me that you told somebody you were a new agent. And I was like, don't be talking about you're a new agent. You are not a new agent.
I have something about that because I actually potentially lost a client by saying that I was a new agent. And One thing that I guess we can all do, we're all part of Keller Williams, is even though you might be new, but your market center isn't, and then your market center is out there to help you. So see it as standing in
And
the
you're-
shoulders
yep.
of giants.
Exactly. Your coaches,
Yes.
you have a team, you're on a team with people. We are your team. So you are on a team with people with hundreds of years of experience. Use what you have. You have people who are definitely have years of experience behind you. And so you don't need to worry about that. But you know what, to be honest, I would even still say, oh yeah, I'm newer. If I was not like pushing myself to say this, and my thing is that I started investing in 2018, but I didn't jump full time into real estate until 2020. So I've quote only been doing this for 3.5 years. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm new. But what? No, we need to stop saying I'm new. We need to stop putting that on ourselves, because all that's doing is hurting me. All that's doing is making me feel less than. It's making me feel like I'm not as good as somebody else who's doing this, who's been doing this for 952 years. And there are people out there who've been doing it for that long. And so I need to say, you know what? No, because I'm newer to the game, I know more. I've been, there are things that I do better because I haven't been doing it for 952 years. So, that's something that we bring to the table as quote newer agents, but we don't necessarily need to put that on ourselves, and we don't need to put that out into the world. We just need to say, I'm an agent. I'm a real estate agent. So that's something that every one of us in this call today needs to hear, that we are not new, we are agents. I love that. That was a good talk we needed to have. All right, let's go back. Let's talk a little more about systems. This is something that in our office we're talking a lot about, just because our team leader is really pushing systems and talking about, what is your system? We actually had some top producers who did a panel in our team meeting today, and they were talking about essentially, these are top producers, and they were talking about how they still do door knocking, they still make phone calls, they still do things that we as quote new agents feel like maybe we feel like is beneath us. Maybe we feel like we don't want to do. Maybe we feel like is something that someday we're not going to have to do this anymore. We're only doing this because we're new. But what is it that we feel like is maybe stopping us from getting out there? What do we feel? I just want to have a conversation. Like, what do we feel like is going on? How do we feel like we can really start getting business coming in? What do we feel like is stopping us? Because let me tell you, the market is picking up. The market is picking up. And we're seeing that in PC coaching. We're seeing that across California. So no matter what your market is, no matter what your price point is, business is picking up. Where are you? Are you getting that business, or are you watching other people get that business? How are you going to be the one that gets that business? So let's have that conversation. I want to open that up to all of you guys. Like, where are you struggling? Where are you feeling like you're not able to get that business? What are you feeling like that if you did this one thing, you would get more business? I'm going to stop talking and let you guys talk. So I need to see those mutes come off.
I'll go. I think for me, it's been door knocking my own neighborhood. And, it's going to sound weird, but once you see a house listed, you then realize that you didn't do your job. So I have to do that, and I'm committed to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Maria, that just happened to me down the street. And I
Um,
these people every day, but I never talk to them. Like they're just, I don't know, they seem like not as social as I am. So I just always wave as they walk the dog. And then I saw their sign up in their yard, and I just finally opened my mouth, and they're like, oh, we didn't realize you were a realtor too. And I'm like, yeah, that's my own fault. But I said, I saw you guys listed your property, and I said, you put it for, I said, I think you price pointed perfect. And I said, I'm a realtor in the area. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. I'm all, yep, because I never talked to you.
Yeah.
So not a good feeling.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
But I think I have my first listing coming up in July 14th, and I'm super nervous about messing up. And I think I've not focused all my intention, but I had to join a different MLS and get paperwork done by my brokerage and stuff. So it's been a little more tedious, but it's for an investor that has another project coming up too. So I'm like, I really want to do a good job. So it makes me really nervous so that I can get the next investment property sold too. But it's out of my, it's from back home where I'm from. It's just a friend of mine who I know. So I'm excited to get my first listing, but I'm really nervous. And it's in an area that's predominantly Spanish speaking. My Spanish is not that, it's manageable, but I'm hoping that I don't choke at the open house with questions.
What area is it?
It's in the Imperial Valley. It's a town called Calexico. And
Okay.
so predominantly Hispanic and Spanish speaking. And it's an investment property for a flipper. And so I'm really nervous at the open house or door knocking it won't happen until the weekend I think I go door knocking the 17th because that's their open house. But I'm a little bit nervous about not being able to communicate well.
I have a recommendation about that.
Mhm.
Find a local Spanish speaking lender and have them do the open house with you.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay.
Because I would also be very hesitant about that, because if they walk in and you have a hard time communicating with them, they're going to try and find somebody who can communicate with them. But having a lender at the open house with you is great. And it's better than having an agent at the open house with you, because then you have to potentially share commission or share the deal, you lose the buyer, yada, yada. So I would definitely recommend a lender doing open houses with you.
Well, that's a really good idea. And I actually have one back home who I know. So that's
perfect.
A good idea.
Even better. Good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's exciting. Congratulations.
I'm so excited. Like I said, I still have a lot of work to do. I'm waiting for my paperwork from Keller Williams for the broker, the new MLS. So I'm just sent out a reminder email like, hey, we're working on that so that I can get it all done by the 14th.
Good. All right. See, people are doing business, even investors. A lot of times, when you see investors doing business and making moves and that kind of thing, we know that business is moving. Things are happening. People are still moving money. We want to still be doing business. So make sure that you are grabbing some of that business. So what are we doing to either get business for those of you who are doing business, or what do you feel like you can do to get business if you're not getting business?
What's been working really good for me the past couple of weeks, which I'm excited about, is to get referrals from my sphere, which is really fun. So I've had, over the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 people reach out to me and connect me with people that they know that are looking to buy. And that's awesome, because I just randomly got a text and I'm like, yes, I would love to work with you. And so far, they're all very realistic expectations and stuff too. I mean, who knows if they're going to come through, but I can schedule my appointment and say appointment kept. And that's nice, because I feel like I'm trying to focus most on those. And I feel like why this week I've been getting 2 is because I did have a closing last week and I posted on it on social media, but kind of humble and nice, not not super out there. But I think people saw that and then they were like, oh, here, my friend's an agent, you should talk to her.
Love that.
But it's all people that I have followed up with, or whenever I see a good property, some of these are kind of investor connections. So they're looking for house hacks and stuff. And then whenever I see something come up, I text that to those people and say, hey, if you have a friend, they're not in the market to buy themselves, but then oh, if you have a friend that's looking for a house hack, I think this would be a great opportunity. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'll let you know. And they didn't, but 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, they text me and connect me with this random person.
I love that. That's awesome. I had a question or a comment about that, and it's leaving referrals, friends. I can't recall, but referrals are really the way to go. So make sure that you're reaching out. We always want to get our SOIs SOI. So make sure that you're reaching out to your people, even if they're not ready to buy, maybe somebody they know is. And I love doing that. I like to do that too, of reaching out to people where it's like, hey, I know that you were looking for this before. Do you know anyone else who's looking at this or thinking about it or in this area or whatever? Because then it's still, you're staying top of mind, even though you're not saying, will this work for you? You're saying, would this work for anybody you know?
And I almost feel like it's easier to chat about that. Like for me, it's easier to say, like, these are both, like both these referrals came from people that own a home, and I'm not, like, I wasn't trying to do business with them, but I still reached out and I still said, hey, I'm, like just kind of followed up with them, mostly via text, saying, if you know of anyone, I'm always happy to help or whatever. So it's like, I feel like that's easier for me to reach out to than to people that I'm like, hey, are you looking to make a move anytime soon?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm more uncomfortable in my opinion. But.
I agree. One thing that somebody was talking about in our team meeting today that I wrote down because I thought, oh, that's a really good idea, is just taking your top, however many people, I think she said 20, but people who you know as connectors or influencers in your area or whatever, people who you know are going to talk, and make sure that every month you schedule a coffee or a lunch and get together with them to just be, like reconnecting. And that is part of your SOI and making sure that you're connecting with them on a regular basis. And I thought that was great because that's how I prefer to connect to people anyway. And we were just talking about in some group, one group.
Yeah, yesterday we talked about that in Momentum. I remember we just had that.
Yeah, we were just talking about how you want to make sure that you're talking to the people who are going to be your ambassadors, who are going to be talking about you and talking you up. You want to make sure to get with those connectors, and those need to be like your top 10, top 20, and you need to be regularly following up with them. And so those are the people who would be, like if you're putting that, actually just a little plug for the weekly workshop, not this week, but next week, we're going to have Lori is going to be teaching on the 411, which the 411, if you don't know, is it basically accompanies the 135 business plan. So most of you guys either have already done the 135 business plan or you will be doing it soon. And from your business plan, you create the 411, and the 411 essentially will be what goes into your calendar. And that's kind of your to-do list. But one of those things would be like monthly, you want to schedule lunches, schedule appointments, schedule coffees with your top people who are going to be those connectors. So that was something we talked about today that I wrote down that I was like, yes, I need to do that, because I actually even sent a couple text messages while we were in the meeting to some people that I was like, yeah, I need to do this, because that's one of my strengths, is getting together and being in person with people. And I haven't been doing that. And so I need to make sure that I'm reaching out and talking to these people. And it can be casual, and it doesn't have to be like, tell me, who do you know who's looking to buy or sell? But I can slip that in there and talk about real estate, talk about our work, talk about business. So just wanted to throw that out there, because I felt like that was impactful.
Yeah, for me, that was also a mindset shift, because I feel like I always think about it more from the perspective of, oh, who's making a move, who am I close with? But I think focusing on people, like there's a certain type of person that prides themselves on knowing people and being a connector. And like I immediately, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter how close I am with them at this point or how serious they are about buying. It just matters that they are the ones that remember me as the agent when they talk to other people, right? Like I agree, it was kind of a mindset shift of, I started to identify different people that I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah. And it's funny because I used to, in my past life, I worked at a school and I did donor relations. And so we were getting big money, like big donations. And so it was all about, who do we need to talk to? Who do you think needs to be in this room having this meeting with us? And I had like flashbacks to that. And I was like, why am I not having those kind of conversations again? Why am I not saying that? Why am I not tapping into those people and saying basically exactly that? Because that was exactly what we were doing. We were not talking to necessarily the people who had the money. We were talking to the people who knew the people who had the money, and they were the connectors. And so I was like, I need to be talking to the connectors.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I had that in my mind of like, okay, I have this list of these people that I need to reach out to.
Yeah, totally. It's like a mindset shift, right? Like instead of focusing on what's in the direct sale that could be in front of you, it's more like the second connector person.
Yeah. And I think it's even, I mean, I might even say it's more important to focus on that, because I think that that is going to generate even more business for us, because they're so much more direct and they're so much more willing to like give your name and give all of that, because they have nothing at stake. They have nothing to lose, because they know you, like you, and trust you. And so they're going to give your information out to 15,000 people, when the person who is potentially going to buy, they're going to buy maybe once every couple of years at best, buy and sell once every couple of years. And they're maybe not going to be willing to give your information out, because it's like, well, it worked for me, but I don't know if it's going to work for them. You know, like if they're not that type of person. So you want to connect with the person who is that type, to be like, yes, let me tell everybody about you. So think about who that is in your life. Who is that in your sphere? Who is that in your bubble? And really consider, who are you, who is going to be that pusher for you? And hopefully you have, 5 of those people, 10 of those people. And if you can get, a good amount built up, start reaching out and start scheduling some hangouts with them.
And it's funny because like I'm definitely that pusher in my sphere. Like if anyone needs a CPA, I have the best CPA ever. And like the way I talk about my CPA, I would never talk about like myself like that, right? But I have no problem talking about my CPA like that. So yeah, it would be awesome if I could find someone that talks about me like I talk about my CPA.
Yeah. And I'm the same.
Like 7 leads this year. So.
And I think, Val, we were talking, I don't know if we were talking in person or on our group, but we were talking about how you just need to think about who is the person who gives you, like if you're talking about, oh, I'm thinking about cleaning my house. Oh, I have the best house cleaner. Yeah, I'm thinking about painting. Oh, I have the best painter. Like, who is that person who's always pushing people on you? That's your person. And that's what I think. Like, and I was saying in the group, just put on Facebook, like, hey, any recommendations for X, Y, and Z? The person who's going to jump in there, that's your person. You need to get together with them. So if you don't know anybody, or if your list is really short, throw it out on Facebook. Actually, that's a good idea. That's
a good idea. I'm just going to write that down. I'm going to do that. I know.
I'm like, if you see this on my Facebook, just ignore it.
I'm looking to cut my tree down. It's actually.
Yeah, exactly. So I do. And you know what, it's funny because as I'm actually thinking about this, more and more people are coming to my mind, because I can think of, off the top of my head, I have like 2 or 3 people, but as the more conversations we have, the more I'm like, oh, that person too, that person too, that person too. So really sit with this, because I do think this is going to be a game changer when we talk about SOI stuff, is that really think about who are those connectors, because that connector, if you tell them, I need your help, and if you're fully honest with them and saying, I need you to push me, I need you to be that person. Because I had that conversation with one of my friends and I told her, I need you to bring me business. She was like, I'm on it. I'm going to do it. She's like, give me your cards. I'm going to pass them out. And I was like, done. Here you go. And they will do it because that's what they love to do, because they know that they're good at that. And they know that they love to do that. Because like Val is saying, she's the same way. I know that I'm the same way. I would do the exact same thing. If there was somebody that I liked, like I have a friend who makes cookies. I'm going to be like all day, every day, let me give you cookies. Let me tell you, want cookies made? Oh, you have an event coming up? My friend, she's going to make your cookies for you. Done. Here you go. Let me give you her info. Let me connect you. So you need to find those people, and you just need to make sure that you're asking them directly. So I would say that a lot of people, you have these like, you can have these casual conversations with and just say, hey, like, oh yeah, slip in that you're a real estate agent. With these kind of people, I would say, no, be very direct and say, I need your help, because you know everybody and you push everybody to people. I need you to push me like that. And they're going to be like, yes, done. I hope that everybody is like feeling it, because I'm feeling it. Can you tell? I'm like excited. Yes, Krista's saying she does this all the time with renovation trades. Totally. Like I have somebody that I'm like, yes, I love this person, and I am referring them out to every single person I know, of like a painter and flooring people and all that kind of stuff. When you find somebody that you like, you're going to refer them. So I love that. And when we talk about your SOI, when I told you we had some top producers meeting or on a panel today, that was one of the things they talked about is your SOI is always and forever going to be some of your top sources of income. You have to get comfortable talking with your SOI and building your SOI. Because if you don't have an SOI currently, which I know some of us don't, I know some of us right now are trying to build our SOI or build a better one or stronger one or different one or whatever. But you have to make sure that you understand that your SOI is going to generate the most income for you for the long term. So you have to make sure you're in community, you're in relationship, you're finding those people and you're getting in front of them. That's what it's going to be about. All right, let's switch gears. I mentioned, wait, did somebody else have something? No, okay. I mentioned earlier that the market is shifting and the market is changing. I want to talk about that. Are you guys feeling that? Are you guys seeing that? Do you know what that means? Do you know what to do with that? What does that look like for you? How do you capitalize on this? What are you doing to be able to grab business as it comes? Let's have that conversation.
For this weekend?
Oh, Adam, I'm gonna mute you. If you wanted to say that, you can hop off mute, but I don't think you were talking to us about your weekend. All right, so what's happening for you guys in the market shifting? How are you feeling about it?
I can go first. All right, well, with most of my interactions, it's usually with talking to people on the phone. I've had some face-to-face through social gatherings. But what I hear from the younger generation, which would be like the digital natives or Generation Z and millennials, is they're waiting for, for the housing crash. They want prices to drop down. They actually don't call it a housing crash. They say, no, housing prices would be normalized because they've been inflated for the past 50 years. Then on most of the cold calls that I do is usually people that bought their houses in 1994, the oldest one is 1986. So they haven't moved. That means they had Thanksgiving, Super Bowl, and Christmas in the same house all this time. They bought it like for 250, if not 300K. And I said this yesterday, some of the CMAs go for 1.1 million. And I'm in Orange County. So this is like Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, which is what I would call a bedroom district. So what I hear, what I see is this. The younger generation is waiting for the housing prices to just free fall drop. And then the people that want to sell, they're usually holding on to their property because they wanted, they feel like if we sell right now, not yet, they feel confused about what's going on. They think it's going to be another 2008, but I don't have the verbiage or the information to tell them otherwise.
Okay, so let's break this up and talk one at a time. So for those Gen Z or millennial people who are saying, oh, yes, crash is coming, market correction, blah, 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 whatever, what do we say to them? And this is for everybody.
Okay.
Do you have those people have those conversations? That's so interesting. I have 0 buyers that think that their housing market crash is going to come. Like, is that realistic in your area? Or so like in the coast, like Santa Barbara and Ventura, 0, because the housing market is so hot. It's so hard to find a rental. The rents are only getting more expensive. Whatever they see on Zillow is just getting more expensive. I have 0 buyers that think that a crash is going to come. Interesting.
Well, one thing, yeah.
I was just going to say, you have 0 buyers, people who are actually buying. You have a lot of people on the sidelines who are listening to the news and headlines and blah, blah, blah. And because there are a lot of people who are saying, oh, a crash is coming and there's a bubble bursting and blah, blah, blah. And we've been hearing that since, I remember when I bought my place in 2019, I was hearing, we're in a bubble, it's going to crash craziness is coming. We're always hearing that all the time. And so there are always people who are believing that, but buyers who are currently buying are clearly not believing that. So I would say
even people that I talk to at open houses, or like even people that aren't pre-qualified yet, but are interested.
I think I would say that there are a small handful of people who are saying, well, what about this housing crash coming? And I feel like I can easily say, yep, where is it? Where do you see it? I've been hearing about that for 10 years. Do you see it?
I feel like there are a lot of good data podcasts too for this kind of stuff. Like there's On the Market is really good, and Bigger Pockets has a lot of podcasts. I would probably suggest, I listen to pretty much like 3 times a week or something on my morning runs. I listen to Bigger Pockets and On the Market, and then there's so many other podcasts. And I think if you listen to that a lot and you have a little more data to like draw from, I think that's going to be good for your confidence then. Because I mean, maybe there's a correction in prices in certain areas of the country for sure, like the Ohio's and stuff, but I think California.
Well, here's the thing too, is that when we talk about a correction, there could be a little bit of a correction coming even for California. And what does that look like? That might look like a house that is at 800,000 going to 775.
Well, yeah, I think it's
and then in 6 months, it'll go back up to 800 and then to 850 and then to 900, and it'll keep going. And so when we talk about any kind of market stuff, we have to look back historically. And that's what we have to understand is like the historical data and what's happened. And so for a lot of people, not necessarily like Gen Zers, they don't remember 2008. Some millennials remember 2008 and they say, oh, look at that. And that was so crazy and blah, blah, blah. But even most millennials don't really understand what was happening there. And they're just hearing, look what happened in 2008. We're heading for that again. These bank, the same kind of thing was happening with the bank failures and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, if you look at that, it still was just a little blip in the grand scheme of things. And the markets have fully recovered, continued to go up, and there's no chance of them going back down anywhere near what they were at before. And so for the people,
we have guardrails for that now. I mean, in 2008, I was in college and I was an assistant to a subprime loan officer. And I remember, statute of limitations is already over. So I remember FICO non-verifiable, we would write it in. Income verification, we would just, didn't require so much documentation. As a matter of fact, I heard this term before, seasoned money. I mean, that didn't exist before 2008.
Yeah, and there's
so
none
it's a
of
lot
that
more
anymore.
difficult now. And so maybe back when I was having that conversation, if I could have remembered that information then and there, I would have been able to say that, well, it's not going to be the housing crash. It's not going to happen because we have these guardrails.
Right, exactly.
That make it happen like 2008.
And what I like to tell people is if you're going to be in your house for 3 to 5 years, even if there is any kind of a market correction, you'll be able to withstand it. Because as long as you're going to be in there for any length of time, as long as you're not a flipper or something, you're going to be able to withstand it because you're going to be in it long enough for it to drop a little bit and then come back up and fully recover, and you'll be able to make money. So I'm not worried about it. I like to tell people, I am currently buying. I am not worried about this. I think this is a good market still, because the thing that I'm more worried about is I'm more worried about prices continuing to go up and me being priced out rather than a crash coming and me trying to get a good deal. That's not gonna come. That's not happening. Val, you're muted.
Yeah, I really like Logan. I can't pronounce his last name. Logan Motsahami or whatever. He's the lead analyst at Housing Wire, and his Instagram account is awesome. He has a lot of statistics. It's also easy to share on Instagram. It's probably the wrong way around, huh? But
I can read it.
Yeah, it says Logan Motasami. But yeah, lead person at Housing Wire, and like he posts a ton of stuff, and it's easy to share. And he's on a lot of podcasts and stuff, and he's like the main guy
Yeah, and it's helpful when you like you have to understand a lot of this yourself to be able to be confident enough to be able to talk about it. And so I agree. Listen to podcasts, get your information, really be able to understand this so that you can communicate it to your clients. Because but the other thing that I would say is get well-qualified buyers, because when you have well-qualified buyers, they're not having the same conversation. You're not having, because if you're starting off having to convince them that there's not a crash coming, they're probably not going to buy.
And I
probably
would
not very well-qualified buyers.
And I would be extremely careful with my verbiage too. Like I would never say there's not a crash coming, because you never know. If we start,
well, and I always do give lots of disclaimers. Obviously, I tell them, obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but if you're going to be in your house for this long, you're probably going to be able to withstand it. I always say the probablys, and I don't, all of this, blah, blah, blah. But I say historically, we can look back and this is what has happened, because that is fact. I can't say what's going to be in the future. We can't predict the future, but we can say what has happened in the past. And so as long as we understand what has happened in the past, we're going to be able to pretty confidently speak to what's happened in the future. But we do want to give all those disclaimers. We don't speak, we don't know the future. We can't say all this stuff. You need to make your own informed decision, but you can be confident in knowing that you're making a good decision. Now, Nikki, did you have something to add?
Well, I was just going to say, because I'm in Orange County too, and a lot of people I talk to that want to buy, they just can't simply afford the payments of getting a mortgage. And because, it is very high over here, so it's just kind of hard to convince. I don't know what to say at that point, because rent is really high too. So that's what I'm kind of stuck on.
Mm-hmm. Well, part of that is, there are different types of loans that you can help them with. But if that's the case, then you just move on to somebody who is more qualified, who is well qualified, because you want to be able to help, and you want to be able to get somebody into the position where they can buy. But maybe it is that they need to look outside of the area, because that's really, we live in most all of us are Southern California. That is the case everywhere, in every market. And in every market, you're going to find people who want to buy and can't. And so they're going to have to go outside of the area to be able to find something that they want, that they qualify for. Now, let's talk about, we only have a few more minutes left. So I want to go back to the other topic that you were saying, was in talking to people who were saying that they have been in their house for so long. And what were you saying, that they didn't want to sell, or that?
Well, it kind of does remind me of the other gentleman that was on Monday, because it's mostly, I guess the technical term is, these people are geriatric. These are older retirees. Some of them still work because of the situation, but like 10, 15 years ago, they would definitely have been retired. But they have that house. I don't know if they have done a reverse mortgage on it, but that house has to be paid off because they've been living in it easily more than 15 years. I don't know if they were on a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, but based on statistics, chances are they were on a 15. And I don't know if they, some of them are interested because they want to downsize. You have this big house. You could probably, it's too much house for you, empty nesters, I think that's the term. Maybe you would want to move into a condo or a townhouse or something, and then you have this money left over from the actual house that you sold, and you just downsized into something smaller. And I do tell them, if you're married, there's these tax benefits of when you sell the property, it's up to $250K, but I have more of a conversation, more traction. Out of all these people, these are more people that I would definitely put into my database, into Command, and put them in a nurture program. But other than that, I'm not making any headway with that.
Well, here's what I would say is, I would say don't get too niche, because
yes.
don't put all your eggs in that one basket, because you said it was a gated community, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you
sir.
have limited access to them. It's probably no solicitation, all that kind of stuff. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder to get to them. So
Yeah.
I personally, I probably would say, I mean, if I can, great. If not, let's keep it moving. And I would probably just keep moving along. But in that kind of case, I would definitely have lots of different options of, you know, like what are the options for these people, and have some of those conversations practiced and memorized of exactly what you're saying. Hey, empty nesters, do you want to downsize? Is it time? Is it, you know, do we want to get into a smaller house? Because what we're seeing is right now, the people who are selling are people who need to sell. They're not people who are saying, hey,
Right,
now's a
yes.
good time. It's people who need to sell. And so we have to figure out, is this a person who needs to sell? You said they were two bed, 2 bath. They're probably
Yeah,
not.
most of the houses in this area, like I said, yeah, it's a gated community in southern Orange County, right near a golf course, a public golf course. It's a 2-2 combo, so it's usually 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Maybe there's some of the bigger ones, which is a 3-2 combo, backyard, front yard. These houses don't reach more than 1,750 square feet.
So,
livable
you know,
area.
what might be good is I was talking to an agent in our area the other day who was saying that there is a neighborhood, a similar type neighborhood where it's all like so many of them bought their original owners, and they bought in like 1986 or something like that.
Yeah, when I was born.
And they're original owners, but they're all like 2 stories. So it's like, okay, these people are starting to feel like I don't want to have 2 stories anymore. I can't get up and down the stairs. It's harder for me or whatever. I'm starting to think about what's my next step. That might be somebody who's starting to say like, I need to sell. Maybe it's time. So that's, you know, like that might be a better area to target. So,
Right.
1031.
The one thing
just so you
that
guys
just
know,
attracted to me to this as a beginning agent was just the turnover rate is just incredible. It's like still like hotcakes. It's
10
like at
yeah.
the filling station. It's like pancakes, one after another. I'm like, and then there's some like Keller Williams agents from our other office in Orange County, which is the one in Tustin, and then it's like it's a knife fight out there. I mean, it's a free for all.
Well, and I would go after it if you,
Yeah.
I would still, like I'm saying, I would not go after it, but I would not make that your primary farm area.
But diversify
right?
your
That's
bonds.
more
I mean, your eggs, you know, do other stuff as well.
Yeah. Because, and what I always say is doing farming is expensive. So because you have to be consistent with it and you have to be there. So your first farm should always be your own personal neighborhood. And that's what I would focus there first.
Yeah.
And then just so you guys know, the 1031 I saw that come in, the 1031 is for investment properties, not for personal residences.
Yeah.
This would not necessarily qualify. And that's really on them to decide. I would not be necessarily saying, hey, let's turn this into a 1031, blah, blah, blah. Like I wouldn't be doing that because we stay in our lane. We're the real estate agent. We're not going to give advice we're not going to give tax advice. So, let's see, what else? We have 7 minutes left. I feel like we talked about a lot of good things. Val, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I am struggling. I have 2 buyers that are both qualified and they can buy, but the problem is that so I think I'm just coming to terms with the fact that they're not motivated. Like they both can afford it, but they pay such little rent that so like their payment right now would have to be something like $9,000 a month, and they each pay something like $1,400 in rent right now. And they've both lived in Santa Barbara for, I think, one for 15 and the other one for 20 years. So over that course of the entire time, they haven't bought anything. And if they had, it would be pretty much paid off, or they would have made so much money because, you know, appreciation in Santa Barbara, like back then you could have bought for $350 and that same house would be 1.8 now, right? But they didn't, because they weren't prioritizing that, or for some reason, like they didn't think real estate. And, you know, they're good friends. So now I'm in real estate and they've seen what my husband and I have been doing and how great that has been for us buying properties. So they're like, yeah, we want to buy. But then, like, you know, you look at the numbers, and like with the one guy, I've submitted 2 offers, and I don't know, I'm just like, you know what, maybe you haven't bought for the last 15 years, even though it would have been a good idea. So maybe I'm not going to be the one that changes that. Like, I feel like, you know, and then I had this couple that ran into my open house, and 2 months later, I have a closing, you know. So I guess just coming to terms with the fact that that not everyone's going to make that decision, and I can only, I don't know, like I can't make them want to buy, right? Like they like the idea of it, but I wonder if they're ever going to go through with it.
I can relate to that. I took it one step further. I met a buyer and everything. And I think I mentioned it in last week. I finally filed my taxes. And my tax speaks Spanish, and she's also a real estate agent. She also introduced me to a Spanish speaking mortgage lender. So no excuses for this buyer. He already went through everything. He had $50,000 for down payment because he sold some machinery and everything. Money was already seasoned and everything. But then mortgage lender emails him. I email him. I call him. I even went as far as to door knock, say, hey, how's it going? Ghosted me. So I did everything. I even gave him a contract in Spanish in your own language. And
You're gonna run into that.
yeah,
You're going to have people who you think, I have the same thing. I have buyers who are pre-qualified and showing them houses. I'm like trying to track them down, totally ghosted. And I'm like, what is happening? And I have
hard for me to understand is like, you know, if for me it makes so much sense, and they always look at Zillow and everything, like both of them, you know, they send me properties. They're like, oh, have you seen this one? This could be cool. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, and you got the money to pay for it, so either submit an offer or not, you know. But I wonder if there's just a certain type of person. I mean, so because at any given time in Ventura, but even more in Santa Barbara, it's always been more expensive to pay your mortgage than to rent for the first 3 years, right? Because it always takes a while for like rents appreciate slower than houses appreciate. And so they've always been stuck in that mindset of, but if I buy now, my payment is going to be so much higher. And at any given time, that was too much of a step for them. And they're both single, so they don't have that, oh, I need to get into the school district, or I need something for my family to settle down. So
have you had that conversation to say,
ask them, are you ever going to buy? I mean,
well,
like I submitted offers, right? So like he was excited about this one property, but then he didn't want to go, like we submitted at 1.2, he was qualified for up to 1.4, but he didn't want to go higher because he didn't want that payment.
well, and sometimes it is, you know, like when they start to see, oh, it sold for that much, we could have done that much, we should have done that much. The next one that comes around, let's just go for it. You know, sometimes it does take
A little bit, yeah.
them learning that. But I mean, you really have nothing to lose to have that conversation of, you know, like, do you want to buy? Because if you want to buy, you're going to have to, this is what it's going to take to buy. And buying is going to be good, but the first 3 years, it's going to feel like it's not worth it. So is it worth it to you to think about that, to think I could be saving this much money, or it seems like I could be saving this, but remember the appreciation in the long run, and remember our story. Remember what we've done. This is what we've been doing. And it's because we played the long game, because when we bought, we felt the same thing, but look at what we've done. You know, having those kind of conversations, I feel like are worth it, because you're never going to change their minds. They're either going to be a buyer or they're not. They're going to have to change their minds on their own. But it's really going to be, did I put forth the effort? Because I definitely have a few people that I'm like, I really feel like if I pushed a little bit more, I could have helped them along and they would have been a buyer, but I didn't. And now they're sitting on the sidelines, and I feel like I should have helped that. Now, am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know, but I feel like I should have done a little bit more. So I kind of feel like, in my mind, I would be like, well, they're not a real buyer, so don't put too much time and effort into them, and look for a real buyer. But at the same time, you know, like I wouldn't write them off completely. I'm still going to write offers for them. I'm just not
That's
gonna-
exactly where I'm at. It's like, it's that line that I don't wanna, you know, bet on it, because I don't think it could easily never happen, but they could call me tomorrow and be like, this one came up, let's put an offer in, and then they buy it, you know, because they can, but.
Right.
that's
But
exactly what
I would have that conversation to just say, hey, remember, you know, like it's gonna feel hard and it's gonna seem like it's not that great for the first 3 years. But just remember my story. That's the benefit that you have, is you have personal knowledge and a personal experience. And I would definitely use that, especially because they're friends of yours. I mean, I would always use that, but especially because they're friends of yours. You should do that. All right, well, it's 2 o'clock. I have to jump on Ask a Coach. So if you guys have any questions that you want to continue the conversation, jump on Ask a Coach with me. But this was good conversations, and hopefully you guys take a lot out of this and get out there and get some business going. Bye guys, have a good week.